So, hello again. Yeah, Rob and Peter. And yeah, where do we begin?
Timelines, shifting
Timelines.
timelines. So
Ah,
you
yeah.
were going to tell me an anecdote about some people who've moved into new timelines, which
Yeah, one
sounds
guy
very interesting
was
to me.
from the Course in Miracles Academy where I was in Wisconsin. There is a guy who's still alive. Theo is his name. And he had the awakening when he was sitting in on toilet, and in this moment he forgave his ex-wife totally. And this was enough to awake him. And he woke to a certain extent so that he was able to travel in a timeline more or less 20,000 years to the past and a little bit into the future.
Wow.
And you could see how Atlantis disintegrated. So
Wow.
he was never really talking about it. He was not really proud of it. He just was very reluctant to talk about it. But what he said, what he told me was that in the end of Atlantis, there was some kind of anti-gravity devices released. Also spiritual corruption, of course. And everybody was flying into the air, he said. But in the future, and it was in the 90s when he had this experience, he saw atom bomb dropped over France. And then he saw two people beside him when the atom bomb was dropped in front of him in the ocean. And had a friend who was part of this vision somehow. When they met these people, they were a little bit younger than they were in the vision. He said, "You have to get out of this timeline because the atom bomb is coming for you." So and then he asked really for help. There was a term in the academy to surrender to God, really ask for help, or your point of devastation. And he
Yeah.
escaped the timeline. And another girl who was also witness of the atom bomb, and he gave herself to the fire, really, like, take me. But she did not really go to the other world. She just came back into the academy and into this into this other German community. So she just switched and came back. Bomb. So there was no escape from.
She had a vision of what atomic bomb from
Now, she saw
from the
also atomic bomb, but I don't know where she was in that
it was
moment.
in a vision, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 Mm.
No, it was not really a vision. It was a real experience, but she was pushed out of that timeline and came
I
back into
understand.
the
Yeah.
academy. So
Mm.
seemingly this is sometimes fluid. And this woman, what we listened to, said that now in December there is a door opening for, or it's a division between timelines, between the
Mm.
people who want to stay here in
Mm.
3D reality for another 20,000 years. I don't know if that's really closing ever, but maybe it's closing the opportunity to really to go out of this in a certain time period. I don't know if that's what she said it, that now the door is open. We should really listen to the higher voice, surrender to the light, to get out of this timeline. Maybe not something dramatic, but finally maybe we'll encounter a freer, more peaceful world. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah. I think that I've been listening and reading about these things for since 97 really, so I've kind of gone through lots of processes with this, and I suppose that um the mind always wants the mind always wants something finite, doesn't it? So it always wants a landing point. So I'm not disputing that it's true. I mean, probably in the last, I mean, I think we would both say in the last 5 years since COVID, there's been a palpable shift. It's a different world, it's a different feeling, it feels different. Even the Schumann resonance is really off the scale now. The Schumann resonance,
Mm.
yeah. So clearly there's an acceleration. Um, then I wonder if it has to be, I wonder if you can be in the queue at the supermarket and you can be in 5D and the person next to you can be in 3D. I don't know if that happens. I think it may be more of an internal state than
Mm.
um, a physical division. I know Dolores Cannon, she talked about the world dividing into two, but I mean within your own consciousness, would be sufficient, I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, it's very difficult. It's fascinating. I mean, it's fascinating. But we've heard these so many times, haven't we? I mean,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
2012
yeah, yeah.
happened in 2012. Now we're in 2025, and uh, it's certainly a conversation that would have been unthinkable 10 years ago. I mean, you hear it everywhere. The UFO thing that's coming. Everybody's talking about it. So something's definitely shifting.
Mm,
Um, but I think the government will always try and hijack any information first and try. Because it's going to be like the church. It'll be like the government will try and let me do it for you. I'll be the mediator. And yes, it's true. Now we do have extraterrestrials, but don't worry. I'll put you in contact with them. Don't worry.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You don't
yeah,
need to do anything. Yeah, just leave it to me. It's the kind of,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there are inconsistency in the world. For example, the great one of two inconsistency I see all the time is there is a lack of death birth. I don't see death birth. Even there are tons and tons of birds, but you don't see them dying. It seems to be disappearing in the thin air. And the other thing, what happened again and again, is when you walk a narrow street, you met another person and a car at the same time. So there are always three things
Mm,
clashing into each other. So
mm,
there's always this kind of a lack of space, which is
mm,
artificially implemented because
mm.
there's a lot of time, a lot of space, but always in the same moment, three entities meeting, and it's always problematic. And this is seems to be an arrangement, you know, which is
I
happening
always,
again and again.
I find it interesting now there's so much kind of like talk about, manifestation. This is another one that's massive. Um, And I just find it interesting that people are happy to say, yeah, I manifested this, my partner, my business, my life, all my other, but no one's willing to say, yeah, but I manifested my suffering as well and all my problems. And so it's kind of interesting that, like you're saying, you're walking down the street. If you did manifest all of this, and if you do, you are coming into contact with other beings who are basically a mirror for you at some level. Um, Yet we're creating all of this. It's impossible to understand. I think intellectually, it's completely beyond the mind. It's so strange, but it does. I don't feel like time is really existing anymore, and I think it's like now we're hitting Christmas again, and literally, it doesn't seem like a year has gone by to me since last Christmas. So every week, I mean, things. There's definitely,
Yeah, there seems to be
uh,
a collapse of the stretching of time. No, it
yeah,
seems to be
yeah,
more
yeah.
one thing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, with manifestation is seems to be very strange that the spiritual ego thinks that it manifests the good things, no, and not the war in Ukraine. And I'm doing the good things. No, no, we are in a way, we are the creator of everything. But who do we speak of when we say we or I'm creator? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
the
yeah,
manifester.
yeah,
What part of
yeah.
consciousness creating the whole world? It's not me as a person, right?
Perhaps we can't, the ego can't stand not having control. So it's like
Mm,
my superior being has created this because we can't stand the idea of not having some level of control over what's happening because this has happened to me personally with friends or where we have like, our opinions clash in a sort of geopolitical sense. And then you say, well, in the end, we're both doing the same thing. I'm trying to find a safe place, a safe intellectual place. So if I can make sense of the world, where it's going, who's doing what, is it this conspiracy, that conspiracy, are there no conspiracies? But really, all I'm doing, I'm trying to control the narrative so that
mm.
I feel safe ultimately. And they're doing exactly the same thing. It's just that their version of what's happening doesn't align with mine, and that's where the friction uh, plays out sometimes as well.
Yeah.
So the mind is always the one thing um, to try and watch as much as you can. But then again, the mind doesn't want freedom either. So, the mind is never going to really say to you, "Yeah, I want to be free now. I want an end to this." That's never going to happen either. So it doesn't really want freedom.
It says it wants freedom. It
Oh, I'll
wants
tell you. Oh, that
searching, searching,
because
searching.
that's the last. That's the last. line of
defense.
defense. That's the spiritual bypass. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is it. This is the one. No, I don't want money. I don't want this. I want
yeah,
that. I want freedom.
yeah.
I want free. Ah, yeah, and I hope you get. It's the Ramana line, isn't it? The criminal, the thief puts on the police uniform to help you solve the crime.
Mm.
Yeah, it's mad. It's amazing.
And in the endless progression of self-perfection, right? It seems to be endless. It's another trap, no?
And again, if you listen to the like the Arcturians' ninth dimensional, if that's true, and they're saying no, we're not the finished article either. We're still trying to get home to God. We're still, we don't have a body. We don't live in the physical realm, but we're still the unfinished article. We're still evolving to go home. You think,
But
wow,
we, both of us, had the experience of going immediately home. So maybe we have the solution.
yeah, no, but the thing is, home is. Again, we're not home though, are we? We've got a body. We have a body. We have to accept that the nature is the nature of things is the nature of things, but it's not applicable. Again, the body's part of that as well.
Yeah, but can we not be home and be have the experience
Yeah,
of having
I
a
think it can
body?
be both. I
Yeah.
think that's where we're heading. I think that's that. I think if there's anything like a new world or extraterrestrial contact they're talking about in 2027. Um, Bashar's talking about it. A couple of other people have been talking 2027. Um, but that's just going to be another step. It's not going to be a definitive
Mm.
turning point.
It's an outside event, no?
Exactly. And you can be sure that the government are going to absolutely do their best to hijack that particular
And we have
storyline.
all the time contacts. I mean, I have heard of at least 1.5 million people who have been abducted. They
Mm.
disappear and then they are implemented some
Yeah.
shit. They're doing gene
Yeah.
experiment and
Yeah, I
what
mean,
else?
or when we're dreaming, or had dreams of I've been battling, fighting in space and kind of like Star Wars kind of scenarios in my dreams. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
some of the strangest things what happened is that I mean that I must apologize as we talk about these things, but we are out space here. Now we're talking about everything. There was a guy. This is this thing, and this is a tool from outside of our normal Western civilization. I was walking on the street with this tool, and there was a girl coming, and she was a little bit bright, and she said, "What you have is not from here, no? It's coming
No,
from
it's
outside of space."
off world. Yeah, yeah.
This is a world thing, and this is how they catch your soul of children. They take the soul out, bring them into another body, like Avatar. We see it
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
Avatar,
yeah, yeah.
and they're fighting 20 years somewhere on another planet, like Mars, and they bring them back in time exactly in the same moment where they catch it to the 6-year-old boy.
That's right. The super soldier
Yeah,
program. Yeah, I've heard a lot of. There's a woman online on YouTube who does a lot of hypnotherapy with people who've been in the super soldier program, been
yeah,
abducted or trained from when they were kids, cloned, and they're getting their memories back. Some of it's
yeah.
absolutely horrific. Some of it is absolutely horrific. Some of it's quite interesting. Well, it's all interesting, but
I
wow,
mean,
some of it.
I don't know what you heard. I heard about the ongoing war in Mars, that they have three races. One is insectoid, another I don't know, I don't remember. Some bats, they are in a battle there. But it's
Mhm.
basically the battle is to develop better weapons, to be in training, and so. What did you and underground bases? No, where they even switching
Well,
timelines and
well,
everything.
the ones I heard was the people that were good because I arranged for because he's a few years back. So there was one guy who was like a maintenance guy. He's just because they need everything up
Mm.
there. They've got bases, so you get shipped out to Mars. You're traveling either in craft or through portals. And one of the guys he was he was like a maintenance engineer, maintenance guy, and he was up there and he said, we lived on a base, we lived in a city for a time. He had children, he had partners and had children, so they had a normal life. And then there were other ones that were really in the densest part where they were working on military bases with reptilians and told stories about the reptilians and some of the things that went on there. Absolutely horrendous stories. Um, and I've heard quite a few. I mean, different ones over the years. One of them was Mark Dolmio was one of them. His stories were horrendous, horrendously tortured, brutally tortured, trained to be super soldiers, so they had like super abilities, but the training is brutal. I mean, um, and he told a very interesting story where he was fighting with um, a reptilian, and he said he'd been killed by a reptilian a few times. But then he said, I knew, then he said, when I awoke, the last time, the final time they tried to kill me, because they kill you and bring you back because it's all happening in your head. It's not real. So they do it to terrify you because basically they use trauma to basically MK Ultra you. And he said that the last time he had a fight with was it with a reptilian or maybe it was with a German, like with a Nazi soldier. I can't remember. They were because a lot of the Germans are involved in this. Um, and he said that we looked into each other's eyes and I knew that it wasn't real. It was a bit like the Matrix where you say, I know this is fake, and he couldn't kill me.
Mm.
And it was literally just that he said from that moment. And then I was no good to them. And I think he was taken out of the program. And then he started having nightmares. And then he started having hypnotherapy and getting the memories back. There's a woman called something Spooner on YouTube. She's brilliant. She does a lot of stuff with these people. Um, I forget her first name. And she was on a Michael Sala video the other day, but she's really,
Ah,
really
okay.
good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she does a lot of, and she's had a lot of super soldiers. Well, she's done lots of different kinds of hypnosis, and yeah, really interesting. She did one years ago, which I loved. It was a girl um, they'd recorded it. So this girl had gone into a different. She was living on a planet somewhere. She was a quartz, so she had like multiple, or she had consciousness of some of her lives. So she was a quartz. So we're just quartz, we're quartz stones. We have consciousness. We're very, very happy. We're all sitting here laughing and enjoying just existing, which I thought was really beautiful. And then she said, I'm in space. I think I might have told you this story. She said, I'm in space and I'm looking down on planet Earth and I'm seeing all these dark, dense energy coming up, and it's all the negativity from the negative thoughts that come off the planet. And my job is to mutate that back into light, and that's my job.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And then she was living on another planet, and she was doing other things, and then she had her life on Earth as a normal Earthling with a family, and was a really normal woman. Yeah, some fascinating stuff on there. Yeah.
Yeah, but what can we do, in your opinion, to get into better timeline or to help the planet, whatever we call it?
Um, well, I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think everybody has to find this kind of frequency within them of staying out of anxiousness as much as you can, staying in touch with nature as much as you can. I think anxiety is the killer. And I think there's just such a strong feeling of anxiety at the moment, wherever you go.
Mm.
It seems to me, even if you go shopping and I think if you can get a bit of space between yourself and that anxiety and spend a bit of time at nature, go to the beach if you can, or uh, time with the family, quality time with your loved ones, I think is these kind of things, very simple things, and everyone's different. I wouldn't like to sort of recommend a specific, because some people would say it would be meditation or, you know, yoga or qigong for me, for me at the moment, in a personal level, it's just seeing that my whole egoic framework is based on um, trying to stay safe. So
Mm.
practically everything I do has a kind of subconscious reason for trying to get something, trying to keep the narrative safe, trying to keep everything.
But then
Um,
you are only aware of what everybody does. I mean, this is just a step into awareness. Everybody is doing the same, right?
that's right. I think that's it. Yeah, yeah. I think that's it. Be aware of your thoughts. Be aware and
I mean,
um,
I would say when I would ask for advice, I'm in the Orthodox Christianity path. This is a nice path, Jesus brand, Christian mantra, other mantras, I don't know. I was also involved in Sufi movement for some years. So they have the
I did a
zikr, they
bit
have
with
this
this.
holy name of God. And not all Muslims, I think, praying to the real God. I think Allah is a fabrication, temporarily, whatever appearance. But some break through the real God and they are in
Mm,
connection to the love of the universe. This is one thing to connect with this love of the universe. Yeah, and the other part is there is a tradition, you can look it up, it's called Katase. And they are shamans from Peru. They just connected one American woman. She has a
mm,
website now, and they call them the main exercise is to cultivate the inner song. And you open your heart or the center of your chest,
mm,
and you remember one beautiful moment in your life or another life. Maybe have memories of heaven where everything was in peace, everything was full of love. There were no problems, and you just remember this place and how it felt. You can remember as much as you can of this moment, and then you just cultivate it. You stay there and you bring it into the now. And this moment holds everything what we can ever wish for. You know,
mm.
all our desires, all our hope of love, of money, whatever, is just a projection of this moment into the future. But we can bring it back to the now by cultivating it, by remembering it,
Yeah, yeah,
and this will change ourselves because in the center of our being is when we are successful, when we just do it, it's very simple. Then in the center of our existence is no more anxiety, it's just love, and then we can just extend it and we start naturally extend it to others.
yeah. I think the one that I found always helps is just asking, because if you don't know, I remember many years ago, I just for some reason I decided I needed a teacher or master, so I started asking, can you please, to ask the universe or whatever, um, ask for help, ask for whatever it is that you vibrate. Like you said, it could be Jesus, it could be angels, it could be. It doesn't really matter what it is, but I think the power of asking is quite well, it's very powerful for me. I find it extremely helpful. I just think that everyone's so different, and what works for one may not work for another. But yeah, yeah. For me, also the body work. The body work is huge at the moment. Just the amount of emotion lodged in the body that if that doesn't clear out, then how can we get any more light? If if we're truly going into having crystalline bodies, we're going from carbon to crystalline bodies in our DNA, then obviously we still have to purge our systems of a lot of conditioning. So body work's really useful for that. Breathing, body work, somatic therapies. But I think if you ask, you'll find something that will resonate with you and you'll be led. And I think it will happen. It happens really quickly now, really
And you
quickly.
think that our bodies will be translated into crystalline bodies in this
Well, that's what
lifetime,
they
in the
say.
next?
That's what they say. To go into fifth, we have to come from carbon-based bodies into crystalline uh, bodies, genetically speaking. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but that's something that is quite commonly spoken about in the sort of yeah, the people who talk about this shift from 3D through 4D into 5D. Yeah, but
And the best
crystalline.
thing about it is that if we don't have to come back again, have to be children again with all this, you have suffered so much, and me too. We had great times, we had bad times, but to start all this again from zero, and start to read all the books again, it would be not very pleasant.
Wow. Yeah. Well, they say in the Bhagavad Gita, no, they say that you always just come back from the place you left. I don't think you ever go back to scratch. So
Yeah,
you always go.
when you are start as a child, you don't
You're still
remember too
asleep. So
much.
you think we'd come in completely awake next time?
Yeah, Krishna, or yeah, Jesus. I mean, when you look at people like Master Teacher, he had to go to the whole Southern Pacific War in Okinawa.
He went to war, didn't he? Yeah.
He had his awakening in Nagasaki. I mean, the
Wow.
first awakening when he had the tea ceremony with the soldier from the emperor. But the whole
Wow.
city was destroyed. It was the deepest devastation you can ever have. And he
Yeah.
said, when God has anything to do with this, I don't want to have
Anything
nothing
to
to
do
do
with
with
it?
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
also the price is high for awakening sometimes. Again.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is the sad thing about it. We're losing awakening, we're coming back, and then we suffer and suffer and suffer until we cannot stand it anymore. And we don't want to do that. So it would be a nice thing to convert this place into ID or so. Maybe that's why we're here. No? I think there are two ways to live. One, many people think they have to survive because they are alone. And in my training in the academy, somebody said we are already located. So the Holy Spirit or whatever, God has located you, and He know where you are. In that moment, I thought there are too many people that, in order to know everyone where everybody is. But later I realized, of course, I'm in the coordinate system of the higher spirit. So, and everything what appears to me is a lesson for me. It has nothing to do with survival, physical survival, right? This is just a side effect that we are still alive, that we have a story how we gain our money. But my life and your life, they contain specific lessons just designed for us.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And this is where the acceptance comes in that, well, I'm happy to accept that I created the good stuff, but the bad stuff. And so it's like seeing, well, yeah, I created the suffering and I created exactly what's happening now for my own awakening or the next step, or for want of a better expression. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that's for me, that's been very hard to accept. Coming from a long time on the non-dual kind of circuit, it's been quite difficult for me to accept and come back into the body and accept that, because if it's all illusory, what's the problem? But that's escapism. So that's
I think we mix up
been
two things when we think like, oh, I created this and that's it. I think there is a part of us which is a dreaming mind. In
mm,
the beginning of the Bible, they say there was a deep sleep falling over Adam, or Adam fell asleep, and he never woke up. So the whole story of the Old Testament and the Bible is a dramatic presentation of human dream of this world, like war after war after war, an absent God. And then finally Jesus was baptized and he woke up and he heard this voice, "This is my beloved son with whom I am well pleased." And the master teacher heard the same voice. So everybody wakes up, God is still there and he loves me. So this is a dreaming mind, and there is the mind outside of the dreaming bubble who's tried to give waking calls, like wake
mm,
up. But the dreaming
mm,
mind think this is a lion, no, or is a thunder. So is throwing thunders at him. So
mm.
we see everything as we see it within the framework of this world, but we are two different minds battling with each other.
Yeah,
One
and
wants awakening, and the other try to keep this world running.
well, that's what we're seeing in the outside, isn't it? In the day, in the geopolitical arena, is exactly what we're seeing. It's pushing, pulling, things getting mm, more and more crazy, more difficult. It just seems like now it's almost like a play with a script. It seems so ridiculous the way the politicians are behaving, the things they're saying. Nobody's behaving like a politician, anyone. They're all like actors and just doing crazy things, saying crazy things. And yeah, it makes maybe this is again part of the story to, there's a line, there's something you can't tell people, you have to show them.
Mm.
When you're teaching, we're language teachers, you can tell them, but you have to show them, so they need proper practice the language, practice in real situations. That's where the true learning, and maybe that's where we're at in the world. I don't know. Sometimes it feels to me like the world is just one big workshop now, and we're all kind of like waking. I saw a video this morning in Massachusetts, and they were saying they'd never seen such long queues for people to go to church. And this
Yeah.
woman was saying queues of
So
like traffic jams. She said, I've never seen much. She said, I've been
yeah,
coming to church all my never seen so many cars trying to get to church.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is a big awakening. I mean,
Yeah.
incredible.
So it may be awakening or an act of desperation, but that's what it takes
Yeah,
for you to, okay, everything else has failed. And perhaps when your search started as an individual, mine was everything else has failed in my life. So I
yeah,
started
yeah, yeah.
looking for, and maybe a lot of people still haven't got to that point where I think everything's failing. And in the off-world teachings, sometimes people ask about whether, oh, the economy is going to completely crash. We're going to have a war. And they said, well, no, because the energy, if the economy crashed, if all the banks crashed, the level of fear that would sweep the planet just from individual to individual would knock back any progression, or a world war would knock back. There will be maybe a threat of a world war, but they just said it would be counterproductive to the awakening of humanity, because the fear would be so big it would block everything. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm.
So they said that's not going to happen. It may happen in a small, some your investments might fail or whatever, but not just a mass, you know, shut down. And because people will go into panic, people will go into panic, and the energy and the because they were talking about when the Twin Towers happened. One of the good things, there was a wave of fear because it was the first time America had been attacked by
Yeah,
terrorists. But there was also a massive wave of compassion right across the planet
yeah.
because we saw, and that had a massive effect on the whole. Again, these are teachings these are things that, channelers talk about and stuff. I don't know how true it is, but it makes a lot of sense in a sort of energetically to me anyway.
What I have experienced in Germany, what I have heard is that the after-war generation, where they lost almost everything. I mean, my grandmother was a widow already, and the house burned on the Holy Night of 1946 in a Russian occupied country. I mean, can you imagine? There was no worse scenario than this, to
Not so
burn
long
the
ago.
houses
It's not.
burn.
It's really not so long ago.
Yeah. So, but these people have been much more resilient and therefore much more able to be happy than this generation now.
No, this generation is stuffed. Yeah. As soon as the Wi-Fi is gone, people are panicking that, people
Yeah.
can't, young people, what?
So
Yeah.
when you lose everything, there will be fear, but maybe even the fear can crash and you have to start again. You cannot hold on to the things that are gone. Somebody has to look, there's a tree. I mean, I remember going with a young girl. We went with the family, and this girl was maybe 16, and she looked at the forest around us and said, "It's so boring here." No, because there was not, she could not make photos. The only thing is to make photos, make photo shows and post it.
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
things in itself, the raw world, means nothing. And
yeah.
that is actually something what I see when I had some rough weeks in November and December. What I saw when it's really sad, how we say in Spanish, triste, is when you see the emptiness of the world, right?
Mm,
Everything is totally empty. And then I realized the only thing to overcome emptiness is to give, to extend your love, because
mm,
it's always empty. But when we don't extend nothing and we think the world has to give me what I'm looking for, sense,
yeah,
love, peace, there's nothing really.
yeah. Yeah, well, you're feeling so disconnected. I mean, that's been the psyop has been to just disconnect, keep humans as disconnected from each other as possible. And now with technology,
Mm.
well, there's good things and bad things. Technology has also caused a massive awakening as well, and it's also caused a big step in the opposite direction as well. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
we don't know what kind of radiation they put on us, right?
yeah,
They,
yeah,
they
yeah,
can
yeah.
uh, they can influence our thinking and our
Oh my
feeling.
God. I mean, just through history, just through going to school you went to school in Germany, I went to school in the UK. just what we would have been programmed, and we accept, we don't even register what we automatically think. I mean, it's just incredible. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's where we find ourselves. I don't know if it's gonna next year is gonna be oh, it's gonna be another crazy year, I imagine. But I don't see a finite watershed. Do you know the expression watershed? So
No.
watershed is so there's like a moment, like a plateau where everything shifts completely because everything's always going to be changing. Everything's always going to be in a state of awakening or growth or some
I
sort.
heard that the war in Ukraine is ending next year. This is so, there's
Mm,
a Indian girl in Russia, and all her predictions were coming true. So I think
mm,
she said it. I think
mm,
this is very probable. Yeah,
mm.
probable because the Russian army is just bleeding out. I mean, they have no young men anymore, and it's a total collapse of society, of industry, of on all levels, of money. They cannot sell their own weapons because everybody sees the weapons are just shit. The tanks don't survive in battle. The Indians don't buy anymore. The South Koreans, no others don't buy it. Yeah, many people are just disappeared, and Russia has no money anymore.
Even with the gas and all that, I thought
No,
that
they
with the
don't.
gas,
The Chinese they buy the gas, but only for 60% of the price. They
right,
lost a
okay.
lot of money, and they're losing every month. And people running away or people dying. And yeah, I think there was a poker, and he lost the poker. He thought he overruns Ukraine in 3 days, and that would be a success. But now, no, it was a disaster. He should stopped a year ago at least. But the West is also almost bankrupt. I mean, the euro is bankrupt. America is almost bankrupt because the debts is so high. It's nobody can pay it back. It's
Yeah,
like
there's no, I mean,
black hole.
the national debts are unpayable. I mean, there's no, the money game is only as long as we but keep believing in it because there is no money. There hasn't been money for years. I mean, um, nothing is in I think it was in 74 when,
71 when Nixon disconnected the dollar to
yeah, when he
to
did
the
it,
gold market.
that's right. Exactly. The gold, for only for 2 weeks and then we'll
Yeah,
go back and it never went back. Yeah. And
it
this was
was
the
the
beginning.
greatest scam in history.
This is the biggest
Bec-
disaster yeah, financially, and that's really what we're seeing the results of. So yeah, I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know how that'll play out. I've no idea. I've got friends who've invested a lot of money in gold and they're making a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the gold is already high. I should
Yeah,
wait for
well,
again.
well, no, this friend invested 4 years ago and he's made 140,000 pounds in 4 years.
Hmm.
He invested a lot, but but if you have that money in the bank, yeah.
I mean, the problem is there's so much gold on the planet. When you put this all on the market, the worth of money would be like copper. There's so much gold you cannot imagine in
Yeah,
some caves in North Korea and
yeah.
China. It's full of gold. The Nazis had so much gold. It's all not on the market yet. Somebody's
Yeah,
sitting on
you
it.
just sit on it and retain it and keep it out of
Gold,
circulation. Yeah.
gold is actually a metal that should be exposed to the sun because it's the metal of the sun. But in this
Mm.
planet, you're hiding it in the darkness.
I heard that silver was a better option because silver is used in technology and
Ah,
also silver is also esoterically the represents the female energy, and we're moving out of the patriarchal into the matriarchal um, energies, that silver was going to be the next thing. Um, so esoterically and financially, yeah. Yeah.
uh-huh, okay.
But it's not a problem for me. Don't have any money, so it's not a problem about investing or not investing.
Mm.
Yeah.
So let's end with a little meditation. We have to give some positive things, not only
Oh yeah, I
rambling
didn't.
about the
It
world,
wasn't
no?
negative. It was fun. I
No,
enjoyed it.
yeah.
Enjoy the show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's do a little.
So we connect to the inner light and imagine the inner light to come to your heart and feel the biggest joy and peace and love you can ever remember in all times and space, all levels of existence. What was your highest level of joy you could feel? And just bring it back to your heart. And remember, this is the only truth in this moment, not your thinking, not your opinions, not your memories, only the memory of the highest joy and love and peace you have ever in all existence experienced. Let this be your star of Bethlehem, the star of Christmas, bringing you to the Christ child in you, to your new birth. This is your inner torch, which goes with you wherever you go. It will never leave you, but you have to call it. You have to nurture it, cultivate it, want it more than anything else. This is not the time to be right anymore, because this is the darkest hour before dawn. We just follow the light. We don't need to know more, except we know enough to follow the light, not more than this. And we follow the light in us. See this light also in the others, not only in you. We share all one mind, one heart. Everything is a reflection of you. It's your dream. So bring everybody home with you. And if your desire to only know the truth is strong enough, then you will see the true world where there is only peace and love. And everything else you just let go. It's without meaning. Only God is truth. Nothing else is truth. And you are part of it. Amen. Thank you so much for watching today. See you next time and Merry Christmas. Have a
Yeah, happy
nice
Christmas, happy New
Christmas
Year.
weekend. Yeah.
Bye.